and welcome to the Blockleaders podcast with me, Gillian Gotzel. And today I'm delighted to have as my guest Alex Zaidelson, who is a CEO of SCRT Labs. Alex, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Hi, Gillian. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, I'm looking forward to our conversation today because, and I'm kind of not surprised, and I've been reading some of your stuff, but also went back on your background, your educational background, and your primary degree was in philosophy, and then your master's was in entrepreneurship. So this is kind of an interesting route into confidential computing. It's very much an intellectual approach as opposed to a tech, although I know you're very, very techy. So tell me a bit about what attracted you to philosophy and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so just a small correction. So my first MA was in applied linguistics, which is like a combination of linguistics and computer science. And then later on, I did an MBA with focus on entrepreneurship and finance. And then later in my journey, I started a degree in philosophy, which is still not finished, and frankly, I'm not sure it will be. But I spent like a couple of years in the university studying philosophy. To your question, why I did that, because I believe that philosophy or value systems are the things that are defining how we're doing things, what are the goals that we set ourselves, and in many ways they define our behaviors, right? So that's why I was interested in learning that, understanding different schools of thoughts and different ways of thinking on what is desirable, what is good, and what a good person should do. That in my way, in my way of thinking, that actually is philosophy. And by stating those rules or goals or ways of a good life, that's how philosophers actually shape our collective goals and our collective behaviors, and what we think is good and desirable. In modern philosophical schools actually define that it is desirable, at least for a lot of people, to at least in certain places on the planet, right? They define that it's good for people to create new things, to innovate, to create new companies, to develop technology, to make money during this. So this is just kind of the prevalent way of looking at life right now, as opposed to, say, certain religious philosophies that would say, well, the best thing you could do is sit and pray and hope for universal salvation, which still have their place, right? But and I don't want to get into the discussion which one is correct or which one is more prevalent, but philosophy defines in a lot of ways what we're doing. And coming to crypto, the philosophical approach is very strong in the crypto community. It is also very strong in the decentralized confidential computing world. So we're doing things because we believe they are good for us and for others. And that's what helps us move forward and overcome difficulties, because we have some kind of philosophy that tells us you're doing a good thing. You should move forward. You can be proud of what you do. So that was that was again one of the reasons I went to study that, is because understanding that kind of helps you understand why things are as they are, or how things should be, or how you can make things better.
So when you approached, then you discovered about Bitcoin and blockchain and cryptocurrencies, it was the ethos, the making the world a better place and a successful place, and innovate, were those elements that appealed to you, as opposed to FOMO and to the moon.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not a trader, and I don't think I have ever tried to, turn a quick profit on crypto. I think it's kind of risky. I mean, it's not for me, right? So whatever investments I made in crypto or am making crypto, they are more like a long-term thing. And because I believe that the narrative is interesting, with the technology sound, again, I might be wrong, but that's what drives me. And that was how it was in Bitcoin. So I kind of entered the Bitcoin world relatively late. Of course, I read about it, I heard about it, but I was not one of the first adopters. But when I did, my first kind of move in this space was to acquire some Bitcoin, and just not even for the for get rich quick thing, but more for just to be a part of this new thing, and that was, I think, 2017, somewhere like that, which is again kind of late to the game. But since then, I was working in the space, and I'm very very happy to be here. And then my next my first job or work or project in crypto was Beam, which is a confidential computing or privacy coin. It's a privacy project which actually aims to solve the problem of lack of privacy in the world of Bitcoin, focusing on anonymity, on untraceability of transfers, and all things around that.
So you've written a piece that's in your LinkedIn profile about DCC, which is decentralized confidential computing. So that's different from the privacy angle.
Yeah. So I think the evolution of privacy in the world of blockchain, and it kind of follows the world of blockchain in general, right? So when Bitcoin appeared, it was all, and it is still, and some people think it's great, is about holding and transferring value, right? So that's what Bitcoin is, right? And by the way, that's why a lot of OG Bitcoin people don't really like all those initiatives that try to make Bitcoin something more than what I just said. They're just holding and transferring value. Okay, so Bitcoin appeared strictly as that, and the first blockchain projects were about this. Okay, I have some tokens, some money, and I can send it to other people or hold it. That's what Bitcoin and Litecoin and a lot of other early projects were all about. Later down the road, new projects appeared that said, well, we have blockchain, we can also run programs on that blockchain. And of course, Ethereum is the most prominent of those projects, and it created this whole huge ecosystem. So the privacy projects went, I guess, the same way, right? So the first privacy projects like Monero, Zcash, Beam, Green, Firo, a lot of others, they were focusing about, let's take Bitcoin and the Bitcoin idea and see how we make it confidential, how we protect user data. And then the next generation of projects, of which Secret is one of the earlier projects in the space, they said, okay, let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum is doing something very interesting. Well, you can run arbitrary programs on chain in a fully decentralized, for instance, way. So let's try to make this confidential as well, right? Because people realize that having everything in the open all the time sets a limit on the usability of the technology.
Yes, and I think that you're right. That's quite an interesting point you make. It's like the second age, where everyone was so excited about the transparency that blockchain offered. It's like, whoa, this is amazing, accountability, all this type of stuff. And then you're going, you're running a business. Do you want your business to be actually out there, with your ledger in public view? So is that
exactly my pitch since the Beam days? So how can you run a business where all your transactions are seen? I mean, it may be a great idealistic idea, right? That everything needs to be transparent, but I think, I mean, you need like a different kind of a human being, which is totally impossible and probably very dystopian, to try to change the way we are as humans, right? But so the idea, or people who profess this idea, they say, well, we'll change the way humans think, and it just doesn't work. Humans don't like radical transparency.
That's a quote.
Nobody
That is a quote.
wants people to be able to see all their transactions, right? It's just, and the same way as nobody would want all of their correspondence, or all of their actions to be public 100% of the time. And as they say, privacy is actually control over your information. It's deciding what I am sharing with the world and what I'm not sharing with the world. Now, some people want to share a lot, maybe even everything. That is totally fine. But living in a glass house 100% of the time is, it doesn't work, neither for a private person nor for a business. And it's not because we're doing something criminal. It's just because every one of us has some things that are private and are only shared with a small amount of people, or maybe with no one. But again, a glass house, radical transparency is not suitable for humans. I would say it is not good, and people don't want that.
It reminds me, because I'm a writer, this is what sort of grabs me, is that often you have, very high profile writers, and after they die, you have all these researchers and, absolutely, absolutely, experts in the field.
Descending upon their everything.
Everything.
Right.
Although now back in the day would have been letters, but now of course it's everything. It's social. That's quite scary, I think, because if a writer, you want to project a certain persona, or just you don't want people knowing that you had baked beans and toast for dinner 5 nights a week or something like that. Something as menial as that. Like, is that what Oscar Wilde ate all the time? So yeah, I think the glass house analogy is very good. So balancing, how do you, in philosophical terms, balance confidentiality with transparency?
So I think the right way to look at it is selective transparency. Okay, I need and want to be transparent in certain situation and towards certain other actors, right? In the financial space, I might want to be transparent to my accountant, right? And I need to have a way to do that reliably. Okay, again, it's another question whether I want it or not. Some people want it, some people don't. That's totally fine. But the whole thing is that it's the person that needs to have full control over what, when, and to whom they make transparent. And the way blockchain works, or bigger blockchains, the more popular blockchains work today, is everybody's transparent 100% of the time to anyone who cares to look. And the funny thing is that it's not temporary. It's like forever and ever and ever, right? So whatever I did 10 years on the blockchain will be still visible and transparent 100 years from now. Okay, so that is the problem we're trying to solve, and this is not how it should be. I should own my information, and I should decide what I expose and what I don't, and when, and to whom. Again, I might very well decide to expose everything to everyone. It's my right, or a certain part to everyone. It's also fine. But the important thing is the control. That I control my data, I control my information, and I choose who sees it and who doesn't.
Can you maybe illustrate by mentioning various sectors where this is important for that selective privacy, selective disclosure?
Well, if you ask me, I think there are sectors where it's more important, but it's important everywhere. Okay, I don't think there is a sector where this radical 100% transparency is needed all the time. Maybe there are certain use cases, but again, they're still limited. I think it's a universal thing. And again, somebody might come up with certain examples where, well, if somebody's running a nonprofit organization, then they should expose their sources, maybe, but should they expose exactly how much they're paying for coffee? Maybe not. So yeah, I think I'm making like a general statement. I think in every or almost everything we are doing as humans, we want our data to be protected, and we want to decide which data is exposed and which is not.
How do you
And
balance
that's true about everything, about blockchains, other things, anything.
how do you balance that with, regulations or government rights to information?
Again,
Other rights.
Governments have a way to force people to do things. Okay, they can force most people to do things. There are some people who are very hard to force. But again, government might have the right to have access to some of my information, and I might agree with this, either because I am a law-abiding citizen or because of the threat of violence that can be done to me. But again, it's just the government, right? So I am forced, or I willingly expose my information to the government, not to just everybody else on the street, right? And that's frankly how our world operates, right? So people who pay taxes, they expose their financials to the government. They don't expose that to everyone, right? So begrudgingly, but we do, we expose our financials to the government. And they can have access to our bank accounts. And I guess that's the way things work, right? Whether we like it or not. And again, I don't harbor like radical anti-government, general like anarchic views, or I think we do need government, but the discussion is that exactly about this, the selective disclosure. I choose to disclose. I disclose to a certain actor for a certain period of time, but not 100% of the time to everyone. And that's a big distinction between fully transparent systems and systems with control and ownership of your data.
Okay. So then tell me, we've been talking mostly about philosophy here. Which technologies do you think are the most influential in this space?
Well, that's a great question. In general, in the confidential computing or data protection, in the blockchain space, there are like four major technologies that allow the data to be decentralized, but still confidential, right? Because if the data is centralized, then it's not a big problem, right? So I can just encrypt all my data, store it, and then decrypt it to show it to you. That's doable. But if we want the properties of a system to be, we want a system to be permissionless and decentralized, then there are several major technologies that allow data protection, right? So there is multi-party computation where my data is actually distributed between multiple, let's say, computers or multiple actors, but they all need to cooperate to get the full picture, and none of them sees the data on their own, right? That's MPC. Zero knowledge proof, it's a very sophisticated technology that was, I think, pioneered in blockchain by Zcash, which was a privacy coin project that is still running, and a very respectable project that moved the industry forward a lot. So this industry creates an ability to prove certain things, to prove that I deposited some funds somewhere without actually showing it to the world. So that's why it's called zero knowledge. I can prove something without showing the actual thing. So that is another key technology. So now we have MPC and ZKP, zero knowledge proofs. The third technology is fully homomorphic encryption. That's like a mathematical, magical technology, which allows me to encrypt data, send it somewhere, and that computer somewhere can make calculations on my data without ever decrypting it. Okay, so you and me could send two encrypted numbers to that magical box, and it would calculate the average of those two numbers without ever seeing them. Okay, that's FHE. It's very interesting technology. Right now, it's very, very, very computationally intensive and thus expensive, so not usable for like day-to-day use cases. And the fourth one is TE, it's trusted execution environments. This is the technology that we at Secret use, and this technology relies on special kind of hardware, special kind of chips. In our case, produced by Intel, but other manufacturers do it as well. And those chips, they have sort of a protected black box inside them, which cannot be accessed by anyone. And that black box has its own capability to encrypt and decrypt data. And so I can send some data to that black box. It would decrypt the data and perform calculations. That black box can run arbitrary code, actually. I can write any program, put it inside the black box, and it would calculate it. And that's how, that's the basic technology that Secret Network is built upon. So every one of the nodes in Secret Network has this Intel SGX black box that can read our encrypted blockchain and perform calculations on it. So I'd say these are the four major technologies that are used or have been used in the past years to offer data protection on blockchain, privacy on blockchain, if you will.
Which brings me to my question. You joined Secret as CEO in August 2023. Why?
Well, so my journey in crypto went from Beam, and then the last project that I did before Secret is called VirtuSwap. It's a decentralized exchange where I did a lot of work on building the exchange, but also doing a lot of research in the world of DeFi. And I got really fascinated with the world of this decentralized finance and how it disintermediates a lot of financial activity through smart contracts. So Secret is to me like a combination, right? So it has this confidentiality angle, which I internalized very much at Beam. And it also has the power of smart contracts and the power of DeFi in it. So this combination to me was irresistible.
Okay, I was going to say, you took the word right out of my mouth, irresistible. Cool. Okay, so finally then, Alex, can you give me some idea of the future roadmap for Secret? What do you see coming up near your next months?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. So Secret is actually planning to take an exciting new direction, and we have started sharing it with the community. We're not sharing all of it yet because we want to make the biggest impact on the market. Now, broadly, what we're going to do, we're going to expand into the world of GPUs, right? So right now, our network uses, let's say, regular computers, CPUs that have confidential data, and they can make calculations on that. GPUs are, in a way, much stronger devices, much stronger chips that can perform calculations for exciting use cases like AI, very advanced optimization, video rendering, genomic calculations, and a lot of others, right? Now, and the GPUs today start to have this trusted execution environment support. So now you can have a GPU that also has this black box that is not accessible to anyone. And that means that we can help create solutions that include both CPU and GPU calculation, where the user can be sure that their data is not going anywhere, that nobody in this world can see their data, that it all stays fully confidential. And we think it's very appealing. And we think that what we have today, which is the confidential blockchain, with the addition of those confidential worker machines, will allow people to run very interesting applications without fearing for their data, neither for their data itself, which they're sending for calculations, nor for the metadata, which is their payments or which services exactly they're using. And that metadata is protected by our layer one blockchain, by secret network. So by combining what we have with more powerful computation, more computationally powerful devices, we can create this end-to-end system where the users can consume different services without exposing their data nor metadata. And that's what we're working on. So that's this exciting new direction that we're working on. Now, we're still executing on our roadmap that we published in the late last year. We're still improving our basic layer, doing network upgrades, implementing important features. So there is a lot in store for us in the coming days. So and especially this new direction will be fantastic. I'm very excited about this whole area, again, as I said, of confidentiality, of protecting user data, and creating the system where you don't have to trust anyone, right? You don't have to trust anyone, and you don't have to expose your data to anyone, because today most of the services we're using, or most people are using, most of the services are centralized, right? You're using Facebook, you're using Google, you're using OpenAI, you're using several other things. I mean, there are not many, right? And that's the irony, right? The kind of the terrible irony, this free anarchic internet that started in the 90s, where you had millions of websites. Well, today you do have millions of websites, but essentially you have like 5. Okay, where everything goes there, right? Everybody uses the same, maybe 10, okay, if you count the small ones. And they have full control, right? They have full control. They can censor you. They have all your data. But, most people kind of trust them or don't care, okay? Yeah. So we're starting to build alternatives to all those behemoths, but the alternatives on Web3, which is decentralized, but there the problem is that your data now becomes exposed not just to the big company who's doing this, but suddenly it's kind of exposed to everyone. And it is decentralized. Nobody can censor you, but suddenly everybody sees everything you're doing or what you're paying for, which services you're ordering. It's a problem. I mean, it's maybe not such a huge problem right now because just not so many people are doing this. But if we want many people to do this, or everyone to do it, because you're right, that's the dream. Like, that's the dream of those, the decentralized computing. What we're saying is, guys, we don't need those huge centralized companies. We don't want those huge centralized companies. We want this whole to be democratic. We want to build solutions where you have your social network that runs in decentralized manner, right? Where there's no central person who can influence it in a dictatorial fashion. And for this, we need data to be protected. That's to me, it's very line. Clear. Yeah, okay. Exactly.
Interesting. Thank you very much for your time today, Alex. It's very interesting. I love the philosophical approach, which is important because computers, philosophy we're humans. We need to have human appreciations and understandings and narratives in what we're working. So thank you very much for your time today. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks for the questions.